Like Peter Parker, I was once a chemist and a photographer, but then I got bitten by a radioactive CGI monkey, and a whole new world opened up for me. I'm launching my business, and I'm going to document the process here on YouTube. Is it going to succeed? I sure hope it will, but if you hit the subscribe button, I guess we'll both find out. For those of you wondering what that radioactive monkey was, that's Suzanne. She is both Blender's mascot and test object. Right here, you can see her. Which is all just a silly way of saying that my superpower now is 3D. It's actually kind of funny because growing up, my brother was always the one that was super into Spider-Man. Of course, chemistry and photography aren't the only things I've done. I've been a designer, of course, a retoucher, photographer, chemist, commercial director, cinematographer, developer now. Let's just say I've worn a lot of hats. But what really inspired me is that as a designer, I learned 3D and learned how it could really help out other designers. And here's some stuff I made in 3D of my own designs. They're animations, but I made quite a few stills as well. It was quite useful being able to see stuff in 3D and to really visualize something, not just in the front or, retouched onto a bottle, but really as a three-dimensional object. And I realized that I could bring 3D to other designers who hadn't learned it and really help them out. In fact, I started this very channel to teach other designers what I know about 3D. But one thing I was also realizing was how much better real-time rendering was getting. And that means it's real time, so you don't have to wait for this long render or have really powerful machines. You could just, crank out a render really quickly, which is really important for designers because they're constantly changing ideas, trying things, doing variations. So, speed is really important. They can spend less time rendering and more time on their designs. And I was thinking, wouldn't it be great if somebody created like a real-time render for designers that, just had preset packages. They didn't have to think about modeling or UV unwrapping or all this other, crazy 3D stuff. They could really just focus on designing and still have a nice looking, And I was starting to realize that, maybe I could do it. Look, I got a background in photography. I know how to light these things. I know what designers need. I know how they work. I also know quite a bit about 3D. I know what's really possible. And I know what's happening in real time. Maybe I should do this. I guess I just gotta teach myself how to code and I can create it. So that's, as you probably can see, kind of what I did. I did teach myself how to code. I mean, it certainly helps that, as I said, I was a chemist. I majored in chemistry, so I have somewhat of a technical background. I wasn't afraid of code, but I hadn't really done it. And I was able to put it all together and make it happen. And always keeping in mind what designers need, and not just myself, but talking to other designers. And throughout my whole development of this, I've always been asking myself, is this useful to designers? Is it useful to me? Is this something I could use for a client? And does it save me time? Even though I know 3D, does this still save me time in terms of having to build models and render them? And yes, the answer is yes, and that's what's kept me going. So thanks. This is, kind of a brief introduction of how I came up with the idea and, why I'm sort of the person that can do it. I will explain kind of, the actual nitty-gritty of, actually assembling this, learning how to code, coding it up, that sort of thing. But this is what I've got. This is sort of the broad strokes. So thank you guys. Have a good one. And I hope you had a good weekend. And if you enjoyed this video and want to see more, hit subscribe. Thanks. Bye-bye.